Welcome to Midwife 101. This section is what needs to happen in labor. I think it's very important, especially with a natural birth, that you understand there are many things that need to happen for us to be able to consider you progressing in labor. It's not just dilating. I know a lot of times we get stuck on, okay, how dilated am I? What's my number? Where am I at now? It's important. Obviously, we need the opening to happen for a baby to come out. But a lot of times, if baby's nice and low and other things are happening, the dilation can go very quickly. So let's talk about what needs to happen in labor. First thing, as we spoke earlier, when you go back to the anatomy of mom segment, we showed you how the cervix during pregnancy is going to be posterior, so facing the mom's back. Well, what we need to happen, because the baby's not going to come out that way, it needs to come out the front. So we need that cervix to go from posterior to anterior, an important part of labor. Another thing that needs to happen is the baby needs to engage. So when we go, again, back to the anatomy of mom section, you will notice where we talked about effacement, engagement. The baby needs to come low into the pelvis. So we had the image of the pelvis, and the baby was floating. Well, the baby needs to stop floating, it needs to get engaged, and it needs to start making its way down the vaginal canal. Usually, as we get closer to feeling like the urge to push, you may feel a little burning there, and we're going to talk about that later, but that's a good sensation. Cervix needs to ripen. Our cervix, yes, we talked about it being very long and it has to thin out, but also when it's long, it's usually pretty firm. So if you feel the tip of your nose, you will notice that this is basically what our cervix feels like right now. And when it ripens, it feels like our lips, soft. So when a provider tells you, oh, you're nice and soft, that means that things are moving along great. Effacement. So we need it to go from long and firm to thin and very soft. Okay, so effacing means that it's starting to thin out. The shorter the cervix, the less work your body has to do. And then, of course, I always put this last because although it needs to happen, again, it's not the most important thing, and I hope that you don't get focused on that. Dilation. We need to dilate. A lot of times women will get so stuck on being dilated, and providers as well, that they say, oh, well, you're not dilating, so you're not progressing. This is just not true. If your baby is moving low into your pelvis, if your cervix is thinning out, if other things are happening, you're progressing nicely. So although dilation is very important, it's more important that all these other things need to occur so that dilation can really be effective and happen quickly. So try not to get stuck on dilation. Again, sometimes, at least for me in my last birth, I was stuck at 6 centimeters for a very long time. And I actually had the urge to push while I was 6 centimeters. And I went from 6 centimeters to baby in like 15 minutes. So again, although it is important that we need to dilate, sometimes if everything else is lined up properly, then dilation can happen pretty quickly. So remember that and understand everything that needs to happen. So this is what needs to happen in labor segment. Thank you so much.